Hello, my name is Justin Decloux, and I'm here today with
Will Sloan.
And you're listening to the Important Cinema Club. Oh, oh, oh!
It's not only our annual Christmas episode, but it is the second and final installment in this year's Big Denver. Big Denver.
Yep.
The time of year when we traditionally do big topics that get us huge amounts of listeners, right?
Yep.
In the past years, we've done like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and this year we did Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And now we're talking about the biggest of them all.
Wait a minute. It's not about topics that are physically big? That's what I thought Big Denver was.
I guess there was some kind of mix-up. But yes, we're talking about everyone's fourth or fifth favorite action star.
Okay, yeah.
At least before this week.
Yeah, we're going to win them over with this? Do you think people consider Dolph Lundgren a curiosity, if you will?
Yeah, so Dolph Lundgren is who we're talking about, and in terms of Big Denver, he is 6'5", so that's pretty big.
Look at those guns.
It's big, but it's not too big.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, what is too big?
Sometimes I think Jacob Elordi is a little tall. Apologies to Mr. Elordi if you're listening.
I've never thought of the size of Jacob Elordi, but now I will have to consider it next time I see him in a motion picture.
I'm just saying, I don't know, have you seen Priscilla?
No.
He's so much taller than her, they can't fit the two of them in the same frame. That's
They
my
have
point.
to use visual effects to get it. Wasn't Elvis like 8 feet tall or something like that? Isn't that what?
I don't think he was that tall. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about Dolph Lundgren, for God's sake. And he's a topic that I know is near and dear to both of us. We both love Dolph Lundgren.
And people may be like, why?
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know if I've ever really sat down and pondered why.
I think that we did an episode a long time ago on Patreon. I believe we watched... what was it called?
Well,
the one that had Kelsey Grammer in it?
Fairly recently, we watched one of his directorial efforts, which was called Something.
It's online.
Something. Yes.
I'm thinking Missionary Man, but that is incorrect. That is another film that Dolph Lundgren directed.
But it's one that he made only a year or two ago. And
it was not very good.
It was kind of his Gran Torino, where he was a racist older guy who gets reformed, sort of. But Dolph Lundgren, if you know him for anything, you know him as Drago in Rocky IV. You know him as a peripheral 80s action guy. You know him as
an expendable.
Yeah, you know him as the poor man's Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when I'm thinking about why did Dolph never quite ascend to the A-list, I think it's probably because, more than anything, it's because we already had one of those kinds of guys.
Yes. But you look at Dolph's filmography, and you will be shocked at how many great genre directors that he worked with.
I think with Dolph Lundgren, it's like it was easy to dismiss him a long time ago because he was, a second banana in Rocky IV. He made a number of movies that were considered second-rate, rightly or wrongly. Like so many guys, he's played the long game in his career.
Oh, absolutely.
He's accumulated a lot of he's done a lot of interesting and weird things. He has improved at his craft over the years. Like Arnold, I think he's somebody who was not born an actor necessarily.
He didn't even really want to be an actor when he started.
But over time, I think has become a very good actor.
I absolutely agree.
And more than that, he's become a pretty good director.
Yes. And something kind of fascinating about Dolph Lundgren, just the path that his career took. And I would make some arguments that early on, some films knew how to utilize him correctly. And I think that one of the big kind of jumping off points of Dolph's career is that Rocky IV knows how to use him correctly.
Exactly. And, Arnold Schwarzenegger early on had Conan and he had The Terminator, which were also movies that knew how to use him correctly. Those movies were hugely popular. He also had Pumping Iron, though.
Yeah, but no film captured the kind of charismatic Arnold Schwarzenegger in Pumping Iron,
That's true.
Arguably ever.
I think you're right, honestly. Terminator sees his limitations at that time, knows how to work within those limitations, and then I feel like the next 10 years of his career is like playing off that. It's either working within those limitations or like juxtaposing or putting that character in a funny situation. With Dolph Lundgren, Rocky IV knows how to use it. And then I think there are a string of movies. A lot of these movies I really like, but they don't quite know how to use them.
Now, I would argue, and we didn't watch it for this podcast, The Punisher knows how to use Dolph Lundgren.
I agree. I kind of like The Punisher.
The Punisher, I remember when I was a kid, it was very much maligned, mostly because of Wizard Magazine stuff of like, he doesn't have the skull on his chest. But in that movie, Dolph Lundgren's Punisher is a psychopath. He's just tall, intimidating, and it captures his cheekbones in a way that make him almost look like a skull and is perfect for the character, in my opinion.
Can you tell us a little bit about Dolph Lundgren's background?
Yep. So Dolph Lundgren, one of the big things about him is that he studied to be a chemical engineer, and that he has many degrees in that. He grew up in Sweden. He grew up poor. He has talked a lot about how his father was very abusive, and one of the reasons he got into bodybuilding was to just like prove to be strong, to be able to be kind of like a dominating figure in a way he wasn't when he was young.
He's a black belt in karate.
Yep.
He started studying at a very early age. I observed to you this week that I thought he looked a little strange doing martial arts in movies because he's so big.
He's so tall, yes.
And I think of, like, I see him lift his leg to kick, and I think, you need a crane to lift that damn leg.
Well, I would say that he's very physical in the movies that he does.
Oh, yeah.
And he's very committed. I think this is something that is important about the career of Dolph Lundgren. He has acted in 144 films. It seems like he's give it to me and I won't say no kind of guy. But at the same time, a lot of those movies are interesting, and I think it comes down to him at the end of the day.
You know why I think I like Dolph Lundgren, and I'm only coming to this now. I'm only coming to this realization on mic. I think with Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is in his way a generational talent.
Yes.
He's amazing. With Arnold, you see the calculation every time. You see he's very slick, and you see he's very smart in knowing what his limitations are. I don't think the same is true of Dolph all the time. I think Dolph, he was not quite as driven as Arnold was. He didn't have that like 5-point plan the way that Arnold did.
No, I don't think he did.
And when he was making movies, I think it was in Arnold's autobiography where he said something like, when I'm having a meeting for the movie, I always ask them, like, what's the poster? Like, how are we selling this? And I don't think Dolph always thought that.
No, I think he probably just followed, is someone giving me a role? Yes. All right, I'll take it. I'll keep going. You look at like the guy who is the villain in Rocky IV, you would assume he would have the career of the guy who's the villain in I Come in Peace. Not much. He acts in a bunch of stuff, maybe has one starring role. But Dolph, though, even though we're saying he's not playing 4D chess, like his career is consistent, and it just gets highs as you go along when you would think it would be in the dregs.
Well, I just think like with him, he's this incredible, like forceful presence on screen, but there's also a kind of vulnerability to him.
Yes, I think that's what I was thinking watching all of the movies we're talking about this week, is that all the other superheroes, that's what I think of the big action stars of the 80s. They are not really willing to show themselves be vulnerable. It's even in their old age, unless it's like a big call for it. Like Sylvester Stallone started that way, but that was shorn as he went along in his career.
I think the only one who's sort of comparable is Van Damme. Who, like Van Damme has he's made a whole career out of suffering and crying and being hurt on screen. Dolph, you know, there are times in these movies where it's like a little bit unintentional. He'll give a flat or a weird line reading. And that's part of the vulnerability too. And it makes me like him more. But again, I say that I do think he's become a very good actor.
I absolutely agree. You watch him in Creed 2, and he's almost blowing Stallone off screen in that one scene where they have the confrontation in the restaurant.
It's powerful. And actually, you want to know something? I think he's a good actor in Rocky IV.
I think he's a great actor in Rocky IV. Now,
we watched a very special version of Rocky IV.
Yes.
Because we've seen this movie
100 times.
Yeah.
So we watched the director's cut that Stallone did during the pandemic. And when I think of the director's cut, I think of the 90-minute documentary that you can find on YouTube, which is one of the greatest things Stallone has ever been in.
It's called, The Making of Rocky versus Drago, and it's directed by John Hertzfeld, who you may know as the director of 2 Days in the Valley, 15 Minutes with Robert De Niro, and, best of all, Escape Plan, The Extractors.
Which is the DTV sequel of Escape Plan that stars, I'm putting big air quotes, Sylvester Stallone. And this documentary is just him filming Stallone as he's re-editing Rocky IV and just having kind of like existential crisis about his creative path.
You know, he's given his wisdom, and it's a powerful documentary because you see Stallone is looking at images of himself, and he's having a dialogue with a version of himself from the very, very, very height of his fame, right? And what I remember about that documentary is him saying, you know, I didn't give Apollo Creed enough credit in that movie.
Yeah.
To have him die off so kind of flippantly, you know, Stallone says, like, if Muhammad Ali died in the ring, that would be like a generational thing, you know?
Well, so the re-edit of Rocky IV, is it better than the original Rocky IV? He makes a lot of changes, and some of them I feel just because he wants to change stuff. He restructures the film. that the first half hour is basically a film that stars Carl Weathers.
So
if you didn't know, you'd assume, oh, is this Carl Weathers movie and Rocky is just a supporting player?
So if you go on like Apple Movies or like any streaming service, look for Rocky IV, Rocky versus Drago.
That's the new cut, yeah.
Yeah, and you can still find the original.
Yep.
You know,
It still exists. The robot's still out there.
Yeah, this new
robot
version
is cut out of the Rocky 4 re-edit.
Very controversial in the fan community because who doesn't love the robot in Rocky
I
IV?
love the robot. Paulie's sex robot.
I watched the director's cut, the new version of Rocky IV, with interest, but I don't think it works.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of stuff he removed, and that there's a lot of, like I said, changes that seem to be changes for the sake of a change.
Well, so after the title, the first thing you see is Apollo Creed in the pool, watching the TV, seeing...
well, there's a long flashback sequence to Rocky 3.
That's right.
That's even longer than the one that's in the original film.
That's right. Stallone does center that first half hour around Apollo Creed. The problem is, you can only work with what you have. So he simply didn't have enough footage.
There's a few new scenes of like Apollo Creed talking to Rocky.
Yeah.
Or, Rocky is talking with his wife about Apollo Creed.
But like for this to work, there would have had to have been more of a stuff that was shot about Apollo and his family, Apollo and his place in society. Like what it feels like is just an abbreviated version of the first hour of Rocky IV, and cutting out all the stuff with like Paulie and the robot, all the stuff with Rocky's family. Well, you do lose a lot because when the movie then turns into a movie about Rocky,
it's like, oh, it's about Rocky now.
There's no runway. You haven't had that scene of like him and Adrian having a romantic night at home. You don't have like all that stuff. All that stuff was important. So I don't know. I like it because I think it's interesting to see. Because, I take Stallone seriously as an artist.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think it's interesting to see him like working with this material, creating a new version of it. But I'm never going to watch it again.
It's also colored very modernly. Like, it's like, oh, no.
Well, and also it's like, this movie, Rocky IV, is ridiculous. So like, no amount of lipstick.
He doesn't lose the songs though.
Yeah, James Brown is still there. All the montages.
Yeah.
So
you would
that's
think he'd snip maybe one of those montages out, but no.
I think I'd actually forgotten that there are 2 training montages.
Almost back to back, yeah.
Interrupted by Adrian coming to Russia.
And how is Dolph Lundgren in this movie, though? Because this is the topic of this, yeah. I think...
He's awesome.
He's great in this movie. When you think of Rocky IV, and you think of Drago, the big Russian villain that, like, kills Apollo Creed, and Rocky has to defeat, you think of him as, like, this hulking, inhuman monster.
Almost like a hollow man, you know?
But the movie doesn't present him that way. Like, in that first scene, when there's the fight against Apollo Creed, he seems almost like a child, overwhelmed with everything that's happening.
Well, yeah, that scene where, the James Brown show is happening and there's all the Americana, the way the camera captures him and the way that Dolph plays it, like he does so much with his eyes. He does a lot. Yeah, like his eyes are very wide. He's always looking around, and he does a lot with his face, actually. Like his mouth is open in such a way that's like, yeah, he is sort of overwhelmed, but he's also like, all right, whatever.
There's an amazing moment when Apollo Creed is being taken down. I don't know, is it in the theatrical version where Rocky takes Apollo, puts him in the corner, and he looks over at Drago. Drago kind of shakes his head like this is over, like it's done.
Yeah.
And like, if he was just like a stiff non-actor, he couldn't pull that off. But you read it in his face, and you're like, he's communicating a lot there.
And in the last fight, when you see the vulnerability,
you feel bad for him.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And I do think this was in the original version. I don't think Stallone added this in the recut. Like, I don't know. You do get an arc with this character. You get a whole lot of different modes. He's actually quite a subtle. He's like, maybe I'm throwing names around now, but the way that Buster Keaton could convey a lot with like a flicker of the eyes and just like a small expression. I think Dolph does in this movie.
Well, I think it's because he is such a perfect specimen that when he does those little moves, they have more power because you feel they're just frozen in granite. But they're not, and he's willing to push them in these other directions.
Well, it's a little bit like, and now I'm really sounding highfalutin, but it's like minimalist art, or where a small gesture, a small flicker of paint makes a huge impact. So you get this guy, and one reason why people don't take him that seriously as an actor, especially for this movie, is because he is like
so hulking.
He's so huge, and he's used in that role as a foil to Rocky.
Dolph even I don't know if it was before this or after this, but he like studied acting. He said that when basically the way that he got into a career of being an actor, he was a bouncer and he met Grace Jones. And Grace Jones started dating him. Grace Jones acted in a James Bond film. She brought Dolph along. He has a very small role in, I think it's A View to Kill, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then he just liked it and decided to pursue more acting roles. And he was around the Studio 54 era. He's like, I hung out with Andy Warhol. I was doing all those things. And you can imagine Dolph in those scenarios because he is such an impossible man.
He's a conversation piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a guy like that around. Now, in the Canon Films documentary, when they're talking about Masters of the Universe, which is one of, the great, or well, not the great, one of the major Dolph starring vehicles. Somebody tells a story that Sylvester Stallone came to visit the set, and he was talking to the director, and he said, "You gave that guy lines." Which, I think that's the common consensus of where Dolph's career went wrong, to the extent that it did go wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that like, oh, he's just wooden. He's just like a big guy, and he has an accent when he speaks English.
So what I will say, though, is watching I Come in Peace again, watching Showdown in Little Tokyo again, I love him in these movies. The line delivery is not always like the best thing that he's doing,
Yeah, there's sometimes like he can deliver lines a little flatly. I don't know if it's because he's trying to act cool or what's going on. So that works perfect for the Punisher, where, he always kind of talks like this. But other times when he's trying to emote, it's a little bit different. But then you reach an uncanny valley of someone like Arnie, where it can become charismatic in the situations that he's placed in.
I thought about Commando this week, where, in Commando, he kind of has two modes. He's really smiley and,
serious.
When he's carrying the log and he's smiling, and then he's very serious. And there are those two. And I feel like Dolph tries to be in the gray area between those a lot of the time. There are a lot of times in these movies where he's trying to be like normal.
I think it's maybe because, and I'm giving Dolph credit here, he's thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
And like, how do I portray? Like, he knows what he looks like, right? So let's talk about I Come in Peace, aka Dark Angel, the Craig R. Baxley joint.
I mean, it's a very strange movie.
Yes, because it's one that also posits Dolph as a kind of everyman.
Yes.
Where it's like, he can just be like a normal guy. It's like, this guy is giant. Like, if he walked around.
Why does Arnold get away with it? Or does he? Am I giving him too much credit?
Am I stretching to say there's like a darkness to Dolph that's not present in Arnie? Like, if you see him on I Come in Peace, and like, I think it's just the way his face is shaped and the way he delivers his lines. There's like some sadness there. And it's maybe also like the gravel to his voice when he talks. I can't do a Dolph voice.
I think at this time, Arnold, I guess I would just again return to the idea that Arnold was extremely disciplined in the sorts of things he would do and the sorts of things he wouldn't do on screen.
Well, Dolph talked about I Come in Peace. He's like, this is giving me an opportunity to be a normal person, which basically I can never do in any of the movies that I did previously. Like Red Scorpion, he is a monosyllabic kind of killing machine. That's all they want from him. They want to show off his body. And in I Come in Peace, he gets to wear a very funny like leather jacket the entire time. He gets a comedy sidekick, the guy from Dream On. We all remember the HBO show Dream On, right?
Oh, classic. Right after I'm done watching Arliss, I'll get to that.
Oh man, Arliss catching some strays over here. I mean, I love Dark Angel,
also known as I Come in Peace.
I Come in Peace. I think Dark Angel actually makes sense because Dark Angel is meant to be a Christmas illusion. Like, people say, oh, Dark Angel is I Come in Peace, barely a Christmas movie. There's Christmas throughout this film.
Yes, which I had forgotten, and I was happy to see that. I like I Come in Peace as a William Castle kind of title, like really gimmicky kind of thing. I mean, this movie is a real crackerjack.
Yep.
Like, just super fun movie with a lot of atmosphere, great action set pieces.
Yeah, it was directed by Craig R. Baxley, who is mostly known as a stunt coordinator, who did like the action scenes in Predator.
I think it does a very good job meshing the supernatural elements with the kind of gritty 80s cop vibe of the thing.
So the plot is a big, tall alien guy lands on Earth.
And you're thinking, is that Dolph?
No, it's not. He's taller than Dolph.
Yeah.
And this big guy goes, I come in peace.
And he doesn't.
So, sorry, spoiler alert. His technique is he's actually an alien drug dealer, and he shoots people up with heroin and then sticks a big spike in their head to take their brain juices, which he will then sell on the market. While this is going on, oh no, Dolph's partner, who's just one day away from retirement, gets killed. Dolph gets a new partner who's a wise, cracking FBI guy, and they have to take down, what are they called? They're like 80s yuppie villains. They're like the white boys or something like that.
Yeah.
And so both of these paths collide, where Dolph and this big alien guy who has a gun that if fired just causes explosions, just explosions everywhere, has to do it. Now, Will, you were saying it felt odd seeing Dolph in this role, playing a regular guy, basically.
Well, I think part of it is because he's actually trying to be a regular guy. You know, in the Arnold movies, I think there's always an interesting tension between the fact that he is like a very tall, very built Austrian bodybuilder, and there's no acknowledgement of it whatsoever. Like in Jingle All the Way, for instance. I mean, that's the most extreme example.
Yes.
But it's like everyone's like, Howard. It's like, I am sorry, I was just at work, you know. And
you're my number one customer.
And I mean, since movies are all about illusion, I think because there's such internal consistency to Arnold's screen presence, and nobody comments on it. I don't know. Maybe I just buy it a little more.
Is it like the unknowability of Dolph? Like people are not bringing their preconceptions of like, I know Arnold, so I'm just happy to see him on screen.
Maybe because like when I see Dark Angel / I Come in Peace, I see it and I think, oh, this is Dolph trying to do an American accent, trying to be like an American cop. When I see Jingle All the Way, I'm like, oh, it's Arnold's.
Yeah,
you know,
like Arnold. I think he has attempted doing American accent, but at a certain point, he's just like, I'm just throwing that to the wind.
And maybe this speaks to. I mean, I think Arnold has a persona that is maybe stronger. Certainly, it's more like defined than Dolph's, which is, you know, I guess he had Drago. But Drago is a character that is defined by its absences.
And it's kind of interesting that Dolph, Red Scorpion, is clearly an extension of the Drago character to the point that he's a Russian as well. But he kind of leaves that behind, and it's not something he very much returns to often throughout his career.
So I hadn't seen Showdown in Little Tokyo in forever. This is from 1991. It's directed by Mark S. Lester.
The guy who made Commando.
As well as many great films, including Firestarter, Class of 1984, and Armed and Dangerous, starring John Candy. Showdown in Little Tokyo is a Dolph Lundgren, Brandon Lee, buddy cop action movie.
And it's always, I remember when I was a kid, you'd find it all the time in the $5 bin, Snapper DVD, staring back at you. And I was like, yeah, it's one of the mid-action films of this period.
I feel like all of Brandon Lee's movies, except for The Crow, were kind of regarded as really second-rate.
Oh, Rapid Fire rules, though.
I love Rapid Fire.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, that's where they lived in the cosmos. I mean, Laser Mission is a masterpiece. Don't get me wrong.
And who can forget, his Legacy of Rage is the Hong Kong one that he made. I think we named every Brandon Lee film.
Yeah, I mean, like his father, he had like four. You know, I love Brandon Lee, by the way, and I was so happy to see him again.
Just having fun too,
because I think he's a very it's a shame to always compare him to his dad, but he's not.
And he did not
dad.
want to be compared to his dad.
He's a much more like affable screen presence than his dad was, but also like, you know, hugely athletic, like really charismatic.
And I remember when I saw the movie for the first time, I thought Brandon Lee was like a little, like his acting feels a little off, but this time, big smile on my face, just a perfect pairing with Dolph.
So, you know, this is they're a mismatched cop couple searching for, you know, a Japanese mobster in America. You know, it's not like Rush Hour. It's much more like you compared it to Tango and Cash in the canon of mismatched buddy cop movies where neither of them is the funny guy.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
Or they're both the funny guy.
Yeah, Brandon Lee is kind of the funny guy, but also Dolph will throw quips as well as he goes along.
Brandon Lee is the funny guy to the degree that, like, yeah, he's smaller and a little more hot-tempered in the film than Dolph is.
And this movie, boy, Dolph is at the peak of his, like, oh, I got a reason to take my shirt off? Yeah, I'll walk around nude the entire film.
I like them together. I think they complement each other.
I agree.
Because I do think, you know, Brandon Lee is the more expressive actor of the two of them, and I feel like he fills in some of the gaps that are there with Dolph. And Dolph, I don't know, also fills in some gaps with Brandon Lee, too.
Yeah, like, they're just a perfect pairing, and it's such a smart move that it starts and you're like, oh, they're gonna hate each other. Nah, by the next scene they're like bestest pals.
Okay, so this movie is 79 minutes long.
Yes,
and I think it has some of the efficiency that like a good,
Poverty Row
Western, a good Poverty Row movie has, where it's like no time wasted.
I love how it starts with an action scene and then the next scene it's another action scene. We're going right back into it.
Well, yeah, they meet for the first time and they are at each other's throats. The next scene they're just in a cop car together. They're like,
just quipping.
Yeah, like Tango and Cash.
And like a lot of people, they want that tension of they hate each other, but they can just play along and they're going on these missions, these very violent gunfights where they're killing people left and right.
I like that this movie's kind of nasty.
It is.
The villain's key move is that he has a samurai sword and he decapitates people with it.
Including a woman.
That scene is hideous. Yep. completely forgotten that.
And there's so much nudity in this film as well.
It's ugly. It's sleazy.
It's a fun time at the movies.
Yeah, and I also like the action scenes are great. The fight scenes are great. I mean, by the standards of an American action movie.
Yeah, it's so funny that like if I would have seen this as a teenager, I would have dismissed it because I'm like, it's not like a Hong Kong action movie. And now I'm like, it doesn't need to be. Like, it'd be its own thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I wish The Protector with Jackie Chan was.
Yeah,
you know,
the tight. It's got action. It's fun. But the thing is, like Jackie, I mean, during the period where he made The Protector, could not bounce off an American star like that. I think he was too big at that point too, and so he didn't want to diminish himself like that.
And if there was an American star, is it Danny Aiello? I don't know.
I don't think so. Yeah, sorry. I mean, people are writing letters right now being like, "What about Danny Aiello?" The charisma dynamic. Could it be Jackie and Dolph?
That's how charismatic they were together.
Yeah.
That's how much chemistry there was.
Give me the fucking keys.
Yeah,
I mean that's the.
There was so much chemistry you completely forgot Danny Aiello was in the movie.
I did forget Danny Aiello.
James Glickenhaus also forgot because he disappears for the whole second half.
So we watched a late period Dolph movie.
Well, you watched a whole bunch of Dolphs. What else did you see?
I watched Silent Trigger. It's the one where he's a sniper. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to watch it because it's directed by Russell Mulcahy, who's a guy that, like, he had one great movie in him. It was Highlander. And I'm always like, did he direct anything? Oh, people really like Ricochet as well. But he's always been a filmmaker that's, like, struggled of, like, really knocking it out of the park. And I'm like, can he do it with Dolph? This movie is so weird. It starts with like Dolph. He's on a sniper mission. He decides not to take the hit. The people that hired him turn against him. They chase him. And then it jumps to an indeterminate amount of time. Dolph gets to a big giant high rise in almost a weird kind of like abandoned city, sets himself up. And then it goes from him waiting for the hit to jumping to the past until eventually like the flashbacks in the past haven't really given you that much and they just stop with like 40 minutes left of the movie and just him waiting to do the hit. So it's basically like David Fincher's The Killer, if you will.
Right.
Of just like the mechanics. And what this movie captures well in Dolph is just that kind of like, I don't want to say like emptiness, but just like a sadness to him of like, I'm stuck here. The movie never even tells you who he's working for, who he has to kill. It's almost like an abstract play where it doesn't give you enough details. So it's resting a lot on Dolph and the visuals that Russell Mulcahy conjures up. And they're okay. A lot of the movie is Dolph fighting a horny security guard throughout the movie. So there's just not that much movie there. But I think that like Dolph in this kind of role of someone who is haunted by something, it just goes well with his acting style because you could read so much into his eyes, especially as he gets older and his cheekbones get way more defined. It makes him look sadder.
Well, I mean, befitting a man who has always been, you know, his physical presence has always been a huge part of his appeal. I mean, I do think he's got more interesting as he's gotten older, partly because he has gotten older. And, like, he looks great.
Yeah, but he's not like Stallone. In that, like, who is so injected.
He looks like a human.
Yes, exactly. He looks like a 67-year-old man.
Yeah, and like he looks great. He takes great care of himself. But he has deep lines in his face now, and it's like an Adonis becomes very interesting when there are cracks in it. To mix my metaphors.
Yeah.
So we both watched one of his directorial efforts. He's made 6 or 7 films. DTV.
And I believe he kind of tumbled into this as well, in that a director who was supposed to helm a picture dropped out the last minute, and Dolph went, I guess I'll direct it.
Because, hey, he's made 140 movies.
Yeah, he knows how to do this kind of stuff.
And I guess he liked it because he kept going. Well, 2021's Castle Falls is one of his better received directorial efforts. It is a vehicle for him and Scott Adkins, beloved direct-to-video superstar. It is a stripped down, so stripped down that it's Die Hard at a construction site, basically.
So I believe this film was shot during the pandemic, which would explain why it is as small scale as it is. I mean, budget is probably a big reason that plays into it as well.
Not a construction site, actually, a demolition site.
Yeah, so basically the premise, the high concept premise is that 2 guys are trying to get money that has been stashed at a building that's about to be demolished in like 90 minutes.
And it's an old like hospital, an old disused hospital in an impoverished community. And basically, you know, there is the movie has a little bit on its mind. It's about like gentrification. It's about the Dolph Lundgren character is deeply in medical debt. The Scott Adkins character is a guy who could have been a contender.
But he's not, yeah.
He could have been a great fighter, but he didn't have the killer instinct. So his arc is finding the killer instinct. But he's working on a construction site, basically. They both find out that there's this money here, but then there's a third party. There's a gang that also knows that the money is there.
I like how the gang is just like 5 people.
Yeah.
I remember when I saw the movie for the first time, I was like, what? There's not like 30 men for them to kill or anything? And you know what? It works. There's something that you never see in action movies is they beat up a guy and the guy just gets up afterwards and comes after them again.
I mean, I think Dolph Lundgren does a very good job, like making something out of nothing here. He knows how to work within his limitations. The fact that it's like Die Hard in an empty building, I quickly forget that that's obviously like cost saving. It's born out of necessity. And, I like the space. I like how he uses the space.
Yeah, and like other than an opening action scene, there's no action until like 50 minutes in. And you know what? Didn't mind.
So this is actually, I think, what's kind of brilliant about this movie is the fact that the first half of the movie is spent building up these characters. Scott Adkins, by the way, another guy who I don't think was very good at the start of his career as an actor.
Well, I mean, he started in Hong Kong just playing like third banana. Even in
like Ninja Shadow of a Tear, I don't think he's that.
We know what the issue there is. The American accent. Get that out of there. And I wonder if it was Dolph who was like, just speaking your normal accent in this movie.
Because I think he's very solid in this movie.
Yeah, I think he's very good. He does exactly what he needs to do.
And the two of them, again, have a nice mixed matched buddy chemistry together.
It doesn't like blow any doors off or anything like that.
No.
I always forget like what the climax of this is. I was like, oh yeah, it's just a fight at the end, and then maybe they get away, maybe they don't. You have to watch a movie to find out.
So it's a matter of expectations. I mean, if you know what a DTV action movie looks like, I think you'll find that this is a solid one.
I think that like dramatically it does a lot of stuff that I feel other DTV movies are trying to do. They just don't understand it, but the building blocks are here. You care about both of the characters and what they're going through. You want them to succeed at the end, and it's like, oh wow, is it that hard? Clearly it is, because almost nobody else can do it.
I don't know.
But Dolph, maybe he's been in those trenches. Maybe he's made bad movies.
Maybe he has just enough clout that he's able to say, I want some character development in this movie, and they let him.
And Dolph, he's had some rough couple of years. He had cancer, very severe version of it. And he seems to be bouncing back from there. And he did a documentary that I remember seeing it in the TIFF guide. I was like, oh yeah, Dolph got one of those like Arnold or Sylvester. It's only an industry screening. So in classic Dolph fashion, people are like, we're not really interested in this.
Should have been a gala.
Yep. And I feel Dolph, does he have a Max Rose in him, aka the big dramatic role that you do late in his career?
Oh, of course.
I mean,
look at that
Creed
face.
2 is basically his Max Rose, if you will. I mean, at the end of the day, like, when I think of Creed 2, it's funny that all I think about is the Dolph and his son parts of that movie.
I think that's why Michael B. Jordan took it over after that.
I think so,
get this out of here.
Yeah, get it out of here. We need to make another movie about a rich guy beating somebody poor down who dares try to get to his position. And so, like, if you look at the movies that are coming out, Dolph is just always working. DTV stuff, doesn't matter. Is it like a DTV comedy? I'll be in it. There was a bit of a stretch where clearly his agent got some people's ears because he was in Aquaman. He was in a non-speaking role in
Hail Caesar,
as a Russian commander.
I think he probably got cut out of it.
He is. You just see him in the distance, I think.
Yeah, he's on top of the sub, but he probably had another scene with Channing Tatum. Yeah, he must have.
Like, what happened? Who was casting that movie? Because Christopher Lambert shows up as a director in that film.
Oh, so good. I actually just watched that movie again recently.
That movie is so good.
I loved it.
It wasn't it funny when it came out? People were like, it's okay.
That was me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That was me. And then I saw it again recently, and it's like fucking fantastic.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes they're doing something so good that our simple minds can't perceive it.
Oh, also Dolph. Sorry, before we leave this topic, he's the best thing in the Expendables.
Always,
including the shit one they just made. 4.
I wonder if it was like, we're going to make like Dolph the comedic relief because that's what he is. People will not expect it. But you know what? He's really good at it.
Oh, yeah.
Because he played kind of like, I'm the crazy guy on the team and I'm willing to do anything. I mean, like Dolph, I should bring it up that like when asked to do really wacky stuff, he will step up. Like in Johnny Mnemonic, he plays like the preacher man who's like, he's giving big monologues and he's giant. And I think that, I don't know if he's chasing those things. Like I want to challenge myself. I want to do things that, otherwise wouldn't be expected of me. But he does that in Universal. We didn't even talk about Universal Soldier. Okay, we got to talk about it for a second. Because, I mean, listen, Dolph's gotten 3 Max Roses at this point, because in the Universal Soldier films, he plays the wacky one.
That's right.
He's the monologuer, and that's clearly a reaction of like, they know me as a stoic guy. I'm going to try to go in the completely opposite direction. And it rules. He's so much fun. And then in the long gap sequels, he gets to come back. Have you seen Regeneration?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
There's like that amazing, right before he dies in Regeneration, doesn't he say that he's like, I remember, or something like that?
No, it's powerful.
Like yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it was like that movie where I was like, there's something else going on with Dolph. And then in Day of Reckoning, he gets an even bigger role in that as well. So, Dolph Lundgren, yours to discover is what I would say.
We love him.
But be aware, Dolph Lundgren has made 144 films. So there's a lot of crapola in there.
Just watch the ones that are popular on Letterboxd.
Yes, and then go, what did Justin Decloux say about these movies? That can also be a guiding light if you want to figure out which Dolphs that you should watch. But if you want a holiday Dolph trio, 2 good ones and 1 bad one, you can watch Rocky IV, which takes place during Christmas. You can also watch I Come in Peace, aka Dark Angel, which is very much a Christmas film, not just Christmas is in the background. Did you know that the Police Story mall fight, it clearly takes place during Christmas because people have like Christmas presents and stuff like that in it?
It's a Christmas film.
Yep, it's a Christmas film. Takes place during the Christmas holiday. And then you can also, you want bad Dolph? What about a ripoff of Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days? That's right, Dolph made one of those as well. It's called the terrible title, The Minion. I mean, Dolph worked with Isaac Florentine, Bridge of Dragons. He worked with John Woo in Blackjack. So, like, he collected those directors as he went along.
Dolph is also a voice in Minions: The Rise of Gru. So if you want to have a Dolph Minion double feature...
All right. So, as per usual, you can send us letters at importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com. Because we're running a little bit late today, we're skipping the letters. Save them. We'll read them next week. Send them in. Also, what are we doing next week?
But on our Patreon.
Much requested.
And this is very important. We have a very special Christmas-themed Patreon episode. A few weeks ago, we talked about the Mr. Bill holiday special. And we thought, what could we find that's a holiday special that's even better?
Well, we're talking about the master impressionist himself, Rich Little.
Hey, I'm George Burns here.
Oh, God.
I'm Jack Benny. It's Johnny Carson over here.
So,
Johnny Carson. That's my impression of Rich Little.
Rich Little was so popular that they allowed him to play every role in A Christmas Carol. So that's what we'll be watching, the Rich Little Christmas Carol. Oh.
And you may be wondering, what does it have to do with movies?
Well, Rich Little.
He does movie stars.
Movie stars. There you go.
Movie star voices.
No one is asking themselves what it has to do with movies.
Yeah.
Is it cinema? Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
All right. So next week, hey, by the time this comes out, I think the New Year's.
Best of the year?
Oh, no. We have a New Year's episode that I talked to you about.
Oh, we did. Sorry, what was it? Tell me again.
It was.
I remember now. Oh, this is insane.
So.
Big Denver.
Big Denver.
Who's a bigger director than Quentin Tarantino?
Who is a bigger director than Robert Rodriguez?
How about Allison Anders?
And whoa, they got the biggest star in the world to star in this film, Tim Roth.
Oh, and who can forget one more huge star, Alexander Rockwell.
The director of In the Soup? Yes, that's right. We will be discussing Four Rooms, the infamous anthology picture from the 90s, which is about Tim Roth playing a bell clerk during New Year's Eve. And to make it real special, we're going to watch every movie by the directors featured in that came out before Four Rooms.
That's right.
So 2 of those directors, it's not their most famous one.
Like the one they made right before.
Right before. Yeah. So we ain't doing Gas, Food, and Lodging.
Yeah.
We're going to do the one that came out right before. Are they good? Are they great? We're about to discover it.
I just can't.
You can't wait to visit those 4 rooms.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's what we're doing next week. Until then, my name's Justin Decloux.
I'm Will Sloan.
Thanks for listening. Well, we've got some bad news, Will. I'm not even being sarcastic or anything like that.
No, this is very sad. We would like to note the passing of Bob Burns. Bob Burns is the king of the Monster Kids. Bob Burns is also the last of the great Hollywood gorilla men. You can make a case for Rick Baker after, but...
He's no Bob Burns. Rick Baker is like the elevated gorilla man.
You're right. Bob Burns was, back in the day, and if you listen to our old episode about guys in gorilla suits, you know this. There were a few guys in Hollywood who had a gorilla suit. There was Ray Crash Corrigan, and later on there was Bob Burns.
Yeah, but those guys early on, they often did it out of necessity, and that just became their thing. Bob Burns wanted nothing more than to be a gorilla.
Bob Burns was a Hollywood collector. He was a fan of horror movies, of science fiction movies. And when he went to Hollywood in the 1950s, he befriended, all the old guys who were still around. So, he was best friends with Glenn Strange, who was the last guy to play the Frankenstein monster in the Universal series. He was friends with Ed Wood. Can you believe that? He knew Ed Wood personally.
It's wild that Bob Burns was still alive.
He was
until a couple days ago.
He was 90 years old. So he was in his 20s when Ed Wood was, in his heyday.
I mean, Bob Burns played the gorilla in the live action The Ghostbusters TV show.
That's right.
Oh, I like to call it the original Ghostbusters, not the ripoff with Dan Aykroyd and those other guys.
Yeah, fuck those guys. Get that out of here. Nobody wants that.
You go Ghostbusters.
Yo, the iconic Ghostbusters theme.
Anyway, Bob Burns, like Will said, was famous as a collector. He had like the King Kong maquette. He wrote a book about it. Came from Bob Burns' basement.
He had a Plan 9 flying saucer.
He had so much stuff. You can find tons of little documentaries, especially like around the early 2000s, going around his basement. He loved to show all his stuff off.
He had two great books that I highly recommend everyone read. There's a big, slick coffee table book called It Came from Bob's Basement.
I have that one.
Shows you his whole collection. Then he had another book called Monster Kid Memories, which was just, he wrote it with Tom Weaver, who I guess his job was to transcribe all these memories that Bob Burns had. Great stories of people like Glenn Strange and all the old Boris Karloff, all the old guys that he knew late in life, Lon Chaney Jr. He was a kid who grew up loving these movies, came to Hollywood at a time when there weren't kids like that, really. Now, all those guys, they would be on the convention circuit. They would be on a million podcasts. They would be talking to guys like us, They're little Peter Bogdanoviches with their tape recorders and their notepads would be banging down their doors for interviews. Back then, it was just Bob Burns, really.
Yeah, no one else was interested. It was Bob Burns going around, talking to these guys, showing them that they meant something to someone. And he, through his gorilla performances, and we need to be clear, if there was a gorilla in a movie like before 1985, it was probably Bob Burns.
Between like 1960 and 1985.
Yeah, yes. It was Bob Burns.
Yeah.
So even if that was his only thing that he did in his career, that would be enough. But he was like one of the ultimate fans and kept pushing this forward, throughout his entire life. Mm-hmm. The fact that we knew who he was in the 2000s when he was in like his 70s, basically, I think that shows how powerful the work that he did and how it reverberated so far. So rest in peace, Bob Burns. Very sad to hear him pass away. And, he's up in monster heaven now, dancing with all the other monsters.
That's right.
Not Fort J. Ackerman, though. Have you seen what that guy's done? He's looking up from down below.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It was on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, right? That they go on a huge thing of like, do you know what Forrest J. Ackerman and Ray Bradbury did? They made a whole magazine dedicated to like this young girl they were obsessed with.
I mean, I do know what Forrest J. Ackerman was guilty of. For those who don't know, Forrest J. Ackerman was the editor of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. If you are Stephen King or someone his age, you grew up reading that and loving it. Before we had the internet, we had I was before my time.
Yeah.
They had Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and like kids would write into it, and they would see letters from other kids and be like, oh, there are people like me out there somewhere. And Forrest J. Ackerman presided over that empire. And he did some other stuff too.
Yeah.
But,
Which, if you listen to the Gilbert Gottfried podcast, they talk about in detail. Famous Monster in Filmland, that was a famous one. Mostly photos, puns. Castle of Frankenstein, that was for the real freaks, because that was like dense text magazine where people like Joe Dante and stuff like that would write in it.
When you and me are at like anywhere where they sell old magazines and zines, we're
always looking for Castle of Frankenstein.
We're tripping over ourselves to get Castle of Frankenstein.
We've bought, both of us, multiple double issues of Castle of Frankenstein that we didn't know we had when we got home.
I'm always coming over to Justin's like, hey, do you have this one? Do you want it? And he's like, yeah, I have like 2 copies of it.
So, in other words, send us your issues of Castle of Frankenstein.
Yeah.